Welcome back to the deep dive. If you're listening, chances are you've got a pretty serious goal.
Hmm.
Maybe it's landing that global job or finally getting the nuance in international news.
Or just feeling confident, right? When you
Yeah.
meet someone new from, another country.
Exactly. Whatever it is, English fluency. That's the target.
It's a big one for a lot of people.
But the problem, and you probably know this, is just the sheer amount of advice out there.
Oh, yeah. It's everywhere.
You're just swamped with the next must-have app, the ultimate flashcard system, the, guaranteed 30-day course.
It's paralyzing, actually. Too many choices.
Totally. So our mission today, cut through all that clutter completely. We've synthesized a ton of research, really boiled it down
Okay.
to these 10 golden rules, the methods that work, not just because they sound good, but because they actually align with how your brain learns language.
Right. How it really acquires and uses it.
Yeah.
We're talking true long-term results here.
Long-term.
And that distinction is so important, isn't it? Between, like, a temporary boost and actual lasting fluency.
Definitely.
The sources we looked at, they really confirm this.
Yeah.
We need to stop thinking of English as just an academic subject to study.
Like in school.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And start seeing it as a practical skill, something that needs application.
Using it.
Using it. What makes these rules golden is that they aren't just theories. They're the actual habits of people who got fluent. For real.
People who built these things into their daily lives.
Yeah, these systems, they practice them consistently.
Okay, let's unpack this with a couple of core ideas right off the bat, because some of this stuff feels a bit counterintuitive.
Go for it.
First, redefining immersion. You don't actually need a plane ticket to live in English.
Right. It's more about changing your personal environment, your operating system, so to speak.
And second, and this is maybe the biggest shift for people who are really goal-focused,
Okay.
if you want to speak better, listening has to be your absolute top priority.
Ah, yes. That always surprises people, but it's crucial.
And third, consistency. Even tiny amounts, like microdoses, that's your superpower. It completely beats those long, stressful study sessions.
Absolutely. Forget the marathon cramming.
It's interesting how often learners just wait, wait for permission or wait until they feel perfectly ready to start doing the things that actually work.
That readiness trap.
Yeah, but the rules are clear. The habits create the readiness. You don't wait for it.
We're really moving away from that old idea, aren't we? That you study grammar for like 10 years and then suddenly you're fluent.
Right. It doesn't work like that.
No. The understanding now is you actively use English. Right now. Today. That's how you internalize its flow, its structure.
Okay, so let's start with this foundational mindset. And it immediately challenges that traditional classroom way of thinking.
Right.
Rule number one, the golden rule. Use it, don't just study it. This means a huge shift in behavior.
So.
We're talking about changing English from being like a subject you pass.
Or fail.
Or fail, yeah. To a tool you actually use every single day.
And the neuroscience behind this is really cool. When you study, reading grammar notes or looking up single words, you're mostly doing passive recognition.
Okay, so you might recognize it on a test.
Maybe. But when you use the language, when you have to actually pull it out of your brain to make a sentence, even just one in your head, that's retrieval practice. And that creates much stronger, more permanent memories because your brain goes, oh, wait, this is useful. I need this to communicate.
That makes total sense. If the brain thinks, I need this word right now to function, it holds onto it tighter.
Exactly. It prioritizes it.
So what does this daily use actually look like? Because, for a lot of us, English still feels like this separate thing, something you do for an hour on Tuesday nights.
Yeah, we need to break that habit. The sources talk about specific strategies for what they call ambient immersion. It's mixing rule 1, using it, with rule 10, surrounding yourself.
Ambient immersion. I like that.
It's about deliberately weaving the language into the kind of background noise of your life. The easiest place to start. Change the language on all your devices.
Your phone, computer.
Phone, computer, smart TV, everything. Suddenly you're seeing English menus, settings, notifications, like dozens of times a day.
That seems almost too small, but I guess the cumulative effect, interacting like 50 times a day, it must build up.
It really does, because it lowers the stress. There's no pressure reading a notification in English, right? It's just functional.
True.
Another really good habit is daily writing. And this doesn't mean, writing a perfect 5-paragraph essay.
Okay, thank goodness.
No, just write your simple to-do list in English. Or diary entry that's only like 3 sentences long. Reminders for yourself, all in English.
And the ultimate goal here, which I suspect sounds kind of terrifying to many people, is consciously trying to think in English. That inner voice we all have going, turning that stream into English. How do you even start that without feeling totally overwhelmed?
You start really small. Maybe just narrate simple things you're doing. Like while you're washing the dishes, you think, okay, I'm washing the blue cup now. The water feels hot.
Ah, okay. Just describing the immediate moment.
Exactly. It forces your brain to work in English without an audience. You're practicing pulling out words and building sentences in real time. And that combination, that's Rule 10 in action. You're creating immersion wherever you are.
Right, even if you're miles from an English-speaking country. And it's not just phone settings. It's about actively choosing your media, too, right? Bringing English to you.
Correct. Immersion today is so much about digital choices. You absolutely should follow English-speaking creators on social media.
Not just teachers.
No, not just teachers. Creators talking about your hobbies, cooking, gaming, sports, whatever you're into. And crucially, the sources say you need to participate actively.
Ah, okay. So don't just scroll.
Exactly. If you read a post in English, don't just passively absorb it. Try commenting on it, even if it's just a simple phrase like, great point, or I agree.
That's the key step, isn't it? Commenting forces you to actually produce language, even a tiny bit. It turns that scrolling from passive watching into active, low-risk practice.
Precisely. Your digital life becomes this, 247 language lab, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. Hashtag tag 1.2, the power of consistency over intensity, Rule 9.
Okay, this leads perfectly into Rule 9, which really pushes back against the idea of the heroic, super intense study session.
Ah, yes. The weekend warrior approach.
Yeah. We're sort of conditioned to think progress means blocking out 4 hours on a Saturday morning. But the research is clear. The secret isn't intensity, it's consistency.
This is probably the biggest relief for anyone trying to learn English who also has, a life.
Right.
The key metric is this. 15 minutes of focused practice every day is way, way more effective than 2 hours crammed in just once a week. It fundamentally beats it.
Why is that? Why does the Saturday morning effort just fizzle out?
It's about memory consolidation. When you cram intensely but rarely, you're basically just flooding your short-term memory. Your brain doesn't get the chance to properly file that information away as long-term usable knowledge. You might create some initial neural pathways for that language, but they start to weaken and decay before you revisit them a whole week later.
Ah, so they just fade.
They fade. But small, daily, consistent efforts, even just 15 minutes, keep those pathways active. You keep reinforcing them. It's like building muscle memory or, language memory. It stops the decay.
Okay, but what if I have, say, a big presentation in English next week? Shouldn't I just lock myself away and cram grammar rules to feel ready?
Well, that cramming might help you recognize the right word during the presentation, maybe. Short-term recognition. But it absolutely does not build fluency.
Define fluency again in this context.
Fluency is about quick retrieval, automaticity, being able to use the language without consciously thinking about every single rule. Consistency builds that automaticity, cramming. It's useful for maybe passing a test, but it's a terrible long-term strategy for actually speaking fluently.
So If we're aiming for just 15 minutes a day, what are some practical ways to actually do that? Ways to overcome being tired or just feeling like you don't have the structure?
You need to stack the habit onto something you already do every day. Like, if you always commute,
Yeah.
listen to one short English podcast segment, maybe just 10 minutes on the way, boom, rule 9 in action.
Yeah.
If you always read a bit before bed, switch that book to an English one. Commit to maybe learning just 3 new words from the story each night.
Contextual words like we just discussed.
Exactly. And if you cook dinner every night,
That's your time for that inner narration, talking to yourself.
perfect. The source material uses this great analogy. Consistency is like watering a plant.
Okay.
You wouldn't just dump a massive bucket of water on it once a month and expect it to thrive, right?
Yeah, I'd probably drown it.
Right? It needs small, regular amounts. That little daily drop keeps the growth steady, sustainable, and, maybe just as important, it avoids that huge mental hurdle of thinking, ugh, I have to find 2 exhausting hours for this.
Yeah.
Hashtag 1.3, embracing mistakes as essential feedback. Rule 8 and 6. And that sustainable approach, that consistency, it frees us up mentally to tackle the next big thing.
Yeah.
How we view mistakes. Rule 8 is absolutely non-negotiable.
Okay.
You cannot improve without making mistakes, period. They need to be reframed immediately. They're not failures. They're not reasons for embarrassment.
They're feedback.
Essential feedback. Crucial data points that tell you exactly what you need to work on.
This is where so many learners just stall out, though. They hit that conversational plateau because they're terrified of looking stupid.
Especially in front of colleagues or, people they want to impress.
Yeah. So they just stick to simple sentences they know are safe. Instead of trying more complex stuff or using idioms they're not 100% sure about, they choose safety over actual growth.
And the sources actually frame making a mistake and getting corrected as a huge win. Think about how valuable that moment is.
Okay. How so?
If you use, say, a tricky phrasal verb incorrectly in a real conversation, and the person you're talking to gently corrects your usage right then and there,
Yeah.
that learning moment is contextual, it's maybe a little emotionally charged, and it sticks in your memory way, way better than just reading a rule in a textbook.
Because it's real
Yeah.
and personalized.
Exactly. It's high-impact, personalized feedback. A textbook can't give you that.
But it feels awful in the moment, especially if you're trying to make a good impression or talk about something serious. How do you silence that voice in your head that just screams when you mess up a verb tense?
You have to consciously realize that the anxiety comes from linking your language performance to your self-worth. We have to cut that link. The truly successful fluent speaker learns to see the mistake impersonally, like technical data. Okay, the brain pathway for that verb form was a bit weak. I just got feedback on how to strengthen it.
It takes courage, though.
It absolutely takes courage, which leads us straight to Rule 6. Don't get obsessed with grammar.
The famous grammar trap. This fear of mistakes is totally tangled up with obsessing over getting every single grammar rule perfect before you dare to speak.
Yes. We treat grammar like this impossible gatekeeper.
You must pass the grammar test before you can talk.
And that obsession is probably the single biggest block to actually becoming fluent. Grammar's important, obviously, but it's only the structure.
The frame.
Exactly. The analogy they use is perfect. Grammar is the frame of the picture. It holds it together, gives it shape. But the beauty of the picture, the thing that actually communicates your meaning and emotion, that's your message, your idea.
So the big insight here is perfect grammar does not equal fluency.
Not at all. Fluency is being able to get your ideas across, even complex ones, confidently, clearly, and reasonably quickly, without that constant fear of making a tiny error stopping you mid-sentence. If you're only focused on grammar rules, your speaking is going to be painfully slow, because you're mentally checking verb tables and word order before every single word.
Like translating in your head.
Constantly. The recommendation is to learn grammar more naturally, implicitly, through use. Hear a sentence pattern in a movie that just sounds right.
Yeah.
Repeat it, mimic it. Internalize the rhythm and the structure through listening and copying, not by memorizing the names of tenses like past perfect continuous.
So focus on getting the message across clearly and confidently.
Yes. Even if you make a few structural mistakes along the way, guess what? You are achieving fluency. Heck, native speakers make grammar mistakes all the time. We don't call them non-fluent.
Okay, so we've got the mindset down. Consistency over intensity, courage over perfection, using it daily. Now let's move into the how. Section 2 is all about practical language input, training your ears, and picking up vocabulary in a way that actually sticks. Hashtag tag tag 2.1, why listening must be the priority. Rule 2. All right, this one, Rule 2, feels like a really big pivot for a lot of motivated people. If my main goal is speaking, for that job interview or presentation, why on earth does listening have to be the absolute top priority? It seems backward. Prioritizing passive intake when active output is the goal.
Yeah, it does seem backward at first glance. But we often try to force our adult brains to skip the really crucial steps that a child's brain just does naturally.
Okay.
The source uses that perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Babies, they spend months, literally months, just listening.
Just taking it all in.
Taking it all in, hearing sounds, absorbing the rhythm, the intonation, building this internal map of how the language sounds before they even try to say a real word.
And as adult learners, we try to bypass that.
We try to jump straight to speaking. But without that deep foundation of listening, your speaking is always going to suffer. It'll sound, a bit unnatural, maybe choppy.
It lacks that flow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It lacks the natural intonation, the understanding of where speakers pause, where they stress words, how sounds blend together. Listening builds that internal sonic map.
The infrastructure.
The infrastructure, yes. It trains your ear to even hear the different sounds in English, the phonemes, which is vital. Because if you can't physically hear the difference between, say, ship and sheep,
you'll never be able to say them correctly.
Exactly. But we need to be clear here. We're talking about active listening, not just having, English news on in the background while you're doing something else.
Okay, define active listening. What does that actually involve?
The sources break it down into a few key actions. First, repeating sentences right after you hear them. We'll talk more about this with shadowing later, but it forces your mouth to engage with the sounds immediately. Second, writing down new phrases, not just single words. Write down the whole chunk of the sentence where you heard the new word. That keeps the context and the grammar together.
Oh, preserving the structure.
Yes. And third, actively noticing pronunciation and intonation. The rhythm and melody of English. You're not just hearing words. You're analyzing how meaning is conveyed through stress and pitch. English relies heavily on that musicality.
Right, where the emphasis falls can completely change the meaning.
Totally. You need to train your ear to catch that melody before you can, sing it yourself when you speak.
So what if I listen to something really fast, like native level news, and I only understand maybe 30% of the words? Is that still worthwhile?
Oh, absolutely. That's the idea of comprehensible input. But even input that's slightly above your level is valuable. Even if you don't catch every word, your brain is still absorbing the overall flow, the speed, the native rhythm.
So it's like you're training for the pace of real conversation.
Exactly. You're training your auditory processing. The long-term gain is structural. The more your ears get used to that native rhythm and melody, the more automatic and natural your own speech will eventually sound. Hashtag tag 2.2, contextual learning over random lists. Rule 4.
Okay, let's tackle the second big input mistake lots of learners fall into, the vocabulary list obsession.
Ah, yes. The endless flashcards of isolated words.
Right, we assume if we just memorize, the 1,000 most common English words, suddenly we'll be fluent. But Rule 4 argues hard against memorizing random lists.
Because it's fundamentally inefficient. It mostly just builds that passive recognition memory we talked about.
You might recognize it on a list.
You might. You could cram 50 single words into your short-term memory for a quiz. But if those words aren't connected to a real situation, a sound, an image, an emotion, they're likely gone within a week.
Why?
The brain sees isolated words as low-value data. non-essential, hasn't seen how they're used.
So the solution is contextual learning. Rule 4 says we must learn words in context by picking them up from engaging stuff, stories, movies, articles you actually care about.
Yes. Focusing on how the words work together in real sentences.
Give me an example.
Okay, take the word decision. Instead of just memorizing decision noun, you learn the whole phrase like make a decision or reach a decision.
Ah, you learn the verb that naturally goes with it?
Exactly. You learn the whole functional chunk. Make a decision. It's a package deal. It automatically includes the right verb, maybe the right preposition later on. You store it as a ready-to-use unit.
And that sidesteps a lot of grammar mistakes, doesn't it? Because you're learning the word and its grammatical partners all at once.
Precisely. When you need to talk about making a decision, the whole natural phrase, make a decision, just pops out. Because that's how your brain filed it away.
You avoid that slow, painful process.
Yeah. Where the learner is speaking like this, trying to mentally assemble the sentence.
Yeah.
Word to word, fitting together puzzle pieces. Contextual learning builds flow and retrieval speed. It sounds much more natural. Hashtag 2.3. Reading for pleasure, not just practice. Rule 5.
Rule 5 gives us another way to get this contextual learning almost effortlessly. Read what you actually enjoy.
Yes. Drop the dry grammar books if they feel like torture.
Find something you genuinely want to read. Whether it's, I don't know, fantasy novels, online forums about your favorite band, English subtitles on a show you love anyway, or news articles that actually interest you.
This is so key for sustained immersion. When the material itself is interesting, the conscious effort of studying basically drops to zero.
You're just absorbed in the story or the information.
And the language learning happens almost as a side effect. It becomes automatic.
And the benefits just pile up, don't they? First, your vocabulary grows without you even trying that hard.
Right. You see a new word, like maybe bewildered, used 3 times in different ways across a chapter. That repetition in context cements it way better than one flashcard ever could.
And second, you start noticing sentence structures, how good writers connect ideas, use transition words, employ common idioms.
You just absorb it naturally because you're seeing it used effectively over and over in stuff you're motivated to actually finish reading. It's implicit grammar learning at its best.
Plus, you get exposed to cultural nuances, right? Things a dictionary just can't explain, but that are vital for real conversation.
Absolutely. And just practically speaking, reading is probably the most flexible form of practice. It fits perfectly into that 15-minute consistency rule.
You can read an article on your phone while waiting in line.
Or on your tablet before bed, or a quick chapter at lunch. It's a constant, low-effort stream of ready-made phrases and structures that become available for you to use when you speak later.
Okay, we've built the mindset, consistency, courage. We've trained our ears with active contextual input. Now we get to the really crucial part, section 3, output mechanics. This is the leap from knowing stuff passively to actually using it confidently. Hashtag 3.1, activate the speaking muscle, rule 3.
And rule 3 lays down the slightly uncomfortable truth. Nobody ever feels perfectly ready to speak.
We wait for that magic moment.
That mythical moment of, okay, now I'm ready, but it never actually arrives. If you wait until you feel 100% perfect before you start speaking, you'll just stay stuck on that intermediate plateau forever.
You have to start producing output much earlier than feels comfortable.
Much earlier. Speaking is like a muscle, a physical skill.
Right. It involves actually moving your mouth in ways that might be new, coordinating your tongue, lips, throat quickly. You don't build muscles by reading about weightlifting.
You build it by lifting the weights.
Yeah.
So we have to start small, start safe.
Okay, how?
The first phase should be super low stakes, totally private. The sources really push consistent self-talk.
Just talking to yourself.
Yep. Narrate what you're doing. While you're cooking, okay, now I'm chopping the onions. While you're walking, that dog looks friendly. While you're driving, planning your day out loud.
What does that achieve?
It forces your brain to retrieve words and build sentences on the fly, instantly. but without the massive pressure of someone else listening and potentially judging your speed or mistakes.
Okay, that makes sense. And another simple technique here is recording yourself, right?
Yes, recording your own voice. It feels weird at first, definitely,
Super weird.
but it gives you immediate, non-judgmental feedback. You hear exactly how you sound. You catch your own common errors. You can focus on improving clarity or speed without worrying about slowing down a conversation partner.
So build that initial confidence, talking to yourself, listening to yourself. Then what?
Then the next step is external practice. And this is where Rule 3 really emphasizes communication over grammatical perfection. We have to find ways to practice with others where the main goal is just connecting.
Okay, like what?
Things like joining online speaking groups or using language exchange apps. HelloTalk Tandem are popular ones.
Where you get paired with a native speaker who's learning your language.
Exactly. They're usually structured, supportive environments. You get real-time interaction where the goal is just successful communication, understanding each other, not getting a grade.
And if you can't afford, like, a professional tutor.
These free exchange apps are fantastic. The trick is finding a partner who's patient and genuinely wants to exchange, someone who will give you those helpful contextual corrections we talked about earlier.
Because you're actively using that speaking muscle then, forcing it to retrieve words and structures quickly, sometimes under a bit of pressure.
Exactly. And we have to keep reminding ourselves what the goal is here. Clear, confident communication. When you speak, even if you hesitate or make a few mistakes, which are just data points, remember, you're making progress.
You're teaching your brain English is a tool to be used.
Not some fragile artifact to be kept perfect on a shelf. Hashtag 3.2 figure. The power of shadowing for fluency and accent, Rule 7.
Okay, now for Rule 7, shadowing. This gets highlighted as one of the absolute fastest, most effective ways to bridge that gap between understanding English and actually sounding natural when you speak it.
Yes, shadowing is powerful. It tackles both fluency and accent at the same time.
Why is it so effective?
It's unique because it forces your entire language system, listening, processing, speaking, to work together in real time, like simultaneously.
It's multitasking for your language brain.
Exactly. It's an intense workout in parallel processing.
Okay, walk us through exactly how to do it. It sounds like it needs focus.
It does need focus, but the task itself is pretty simple. First, find a short audio or video clip, maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute. Native speaker talking, could be YouTube, a podcast snippet, an audiobook.
Got it. Short clip.
Then, here's the core step. You play the clip and you try to speak along with it at the exact same time, like you're their shadow.
So not repeating after them, but talking with them.
Simultaneously.
Yeah.
You're trying to match their speed, their pauses, their rhythm instantly.
But it's not just saying the words, right? There's more to it.
Crucially, no. You're not just parroting words. You have to try and imitate everything. Their exact pronunciation, the rhythm and timing, and really importantly, the emotion and the tone.
Ah, okay. So if they sound excited, you try to sound excited too.
Yes. If they're speaking quickly, urgently, you match that pace. You're copying the whole package. The words, the music, the feeling.
What's happening in the brain and mouth when you do that?
They call it building motor memory. Shadowing physically trains your mouth muscles, tongue, lips, to make the quick, sometimes unfamiliar movements that native English speech requires.
Like muscle memory for your mouth.
Exactly. And mentally, it trained your brain to sort of bypass that slow, conscious translation step, that careful planning stage. You're forcing yourself to access and produce language more automatically, like native speakers do, processing and producing at conversation speed.
So it bypasses the analytical part, the is my grammar right worry.
Completely. And it shifts the focus to, does this sound right? Does it feel right?
Moving language from just knowing the rules to actually being able to use it automatically.
That's the goal. And the sources are really positive about the results. They highlight that even just doing this for, say, 10 minutes a day,
just 10,
can lead to a really noticeable difference in your speaking confidence, your clarity, even your accent, in just a few weeks. It's a very high return practice. And it fits perfectly with Rule 9 consistency. Hashtag tag outro. Synthesis and final thought.
Wow. Okay. So we've covered all 10 golden rules. We went from the mindset stuff, courage, consistency, through the input strategies, active listening, reading what you love, and then landed on the output mechanics, talking to yourself, shadowing. We really try to cut through that noise that swamps learners.
Yeah, and pulling it all together, synthesizing these 10 points, it just confirms there's no secret trick, no magic formula you can buy.
Right. Fluency isn't something that just happens overnight because you found the right app.
No, it's the steady compounding result of combining these kinds of habits consistently over time.
So the real secret formula, if there is one, is knitting these actions together. Actively listen to get the rhythm, bravely speak, even if it's just to yourself to build the muscle. Read what you genuinely enjoy to grow vocabulary effortlessly.
And crucially, weave English into your daily life, your environment, so your brain has to treat it like a living, necessary tool.
Yeah. The final analysis seems clear. Fluency really springs from connection, from curiosity, and absolutely from consistency, not just from academic study.
We have to stop seeing English as just a school subject you have to master perfectly and start seeing it as this amazing tool for connecting with people, exploring ideas.
Which brings us to our final thought for you, the listener. That provocative takeaway. The single biggest thing holding you back from fluency. It's probably waiting. Waiting for the perfect time to start. Waiting until you feel good enough.
Waiting for that readiness that never quite arrives. It's like a fancy form of procrastination, really.
Totally. Every single word you manage to speak today, every short clip you try to shadow, every little note you write in English today, it's a real step. It brings you that much closer to feeling confident tomorrow.
So please, don't wait until next week. Don't wait until you finish that grammar chapter you dread. Pick one single rule we talked about today, just one.
Maybe it's changing your phone language right now.
Or maybe it's trying shadowing for just 5 minutes before you turn off the light tonight. Whatever it is, start practicing it immediately. The best time to start building these golden habits is always, always right now.
That's it for this deep dive. We really hope these golden rules help fuel your journey towards fluency. Until next time, keep diving deep.